Three words I never thought I would say in a complete sentence is that Charlamagne was right. Leonard, you ate that one. You choose CNN up, but we got to talk about why. Let's talk about it.
Y'all already know what time it is. I got the black beat link on.
What's going on, you all? Charlamagne The God, aka Leonard, the way Monique ate him up in that Breakfast Club interview, who will go down in history. But Leonard ate this one. Let's play a little bit of the clip.
He is certainly who he is. He's showing us who he is every single day.
Yeah, which is a fascist, and it's crazy because you still don't have news networks having that conversation. Like when somebody says, when somebody questions Kamala Harris's blackness or is he a DEI hire, y'all will have roundtable discussions about that, asking that question. How come you're not having roundtable discussions asking, is Donald Trump a fascist?
Like I said, Charlamagne ate this up. Like him saying directly and talking about how CNN has moved towards the right, how they move more towards the center. It's not no stuff that's just made up. It's not no stuff. It is real. A couple years ago, CNN was dealing with a lot of flack from older white people. They were not interested in watching CNN anymore. They felt like they have moved towards the left. And this was because of them fact checking and calling Trump out about all of his things during his administration. They were calling him out, like anchors like Anderson Cooper, also Jake Tapper, one of my favorite. And some others were calling out Trump and his surrogates when they were coming in speaking about stuff. They were holding him a little bit accountable as best as they could as a cable news network that's here to make money at the end of the day. They were calling Trump out. And the people who were Trump supporters were not feeling it. So they moved towards Fox. Like Fox was already doing well. Fox News were making so much money around this time. They made so much money because they were not being critical of Donald Trump. You had a lot of the anchors having Donald Trump on. They were not fact checking. They were not calling him out. Like the people were leaving CNN. They were going towards that. And CNN was losing money. CNN, who is the parent company of Warner Brothers Discovery, were trying to make some money. They were trying to bring in coins. That's doing the merger, and they had lost a lot of money around the last couple of years, and they were trying to bring these folks back. They got a new CEO, and this was around the time that Don Lemon was let go. Like Don Lemon was being critical. Don Lemon was another anchor that was calling out and being quote unquote leftist. Like folks were calling him leftist. He's child, like I'm not gonna get into that, but he was being very quote unquote political, and he was calling out a lot of the things that were happening that Trump was saying. They were just saying it like it was, and CNN didn't want that. They felt like he was turning off the people that they wanted to come back, because at the end of the day, it's not about quote unquote good journalism. It's not about who is telling the right story and how the story is being told. It's about money at the end of the day. Even when it came to a lot of the strikes that were happening over the last couple of years, the way CNN framed it, they made it seem as though the folks who were striking were in the wrong. People asking for higher pay and time off were doing too much, and they were going to crash the economy. The way they portrayed it made it seem as though they were the problem, instead of holding this corporation accountable for like, hey, y'all have brought in record profits. Y'all need to be able to share that money with the folks who actually bringing in this money. So it's just, we have to remember that CNN, these cable news networks, period, across, they are ultimately trying to make money. That's what CNN, I enjoy watching CNN. I watch it, I listen to it while I'm in the shower. Like I get my news from CNN and other places. Like I enjoy them for the most part because of certain anchors, but I know when they are on some mess, and sometimes they are. And Charlamagne in this moment reminded them of how they have coddled Trump over the last couple of years, because they, during Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, like the whole election, they had Trump on there. Like they were, like CNN was also making a lot of money. They were being critical of him, but they were like showing his speeches and stuff. They constantly like went to his stuff because they knew people were going to watch. They knew that. Like they ultimately wanted eyes on them. They wanted higher ad revenue. That's what they were doing. They had him come and speak, and they had his surrogates and stuff talk and stuff. And you see Charlamagne like calling them out. Y'all have had more conversations about Harris's blackness than y'all have with Trump and the stuff he's talking about. Like in this moment, Charlamagne is the voice of quote unquote reason. And when I say the voice of reason, to say that Charlamagne is the voice of reason in this situation, like let's really think about that, because There are people who are saying stuff just like Charlamagne who have a better understanding of what fascism is and understanding this system that you all need to be paying attention to, that we need to be paying attention to. Some of the folks who I respect and I listen to and who I read, and I'm always in tune to them because they are saying these things. They've been saying it before Charlamagne got on here and ate them up. So it's just like, if you think that Charlamagne is eating, think about the folks who've been writing and talking about this, who actually understand this stuff, because at the end of the day, like Charlamagne, I don't really consider him like a political journalist or any of that.
No, I'm not a blogger. I have a degree in journalism.
Oh, well, congratulations. You're a journalist. Same a blogger.
He's kind of like a hype man. Not necessarily well read as most people I know who are talking about these things. Doesn't mean that he's not intelligent. This just means that this is not his subject matter or expertise. Like, this is not his lane. And in this moment, Anderson Cooper, who is a vet and doing this stuff, like, man, who be standing in front of hurricanes and wind blowing and signs knocking him down, was not able to deal with Hurricane Charlamagne and just basic questions about, why do y'all allow Trump to say some of these things? Like, they allow these pundits to come on and say ridiculous lies. Like, they will have them on there. Like, I have noticed, as someone who's been watching CNN over the last year, when they're trying to fight to get higher ratings because Fox has taken so many of their folks after Don Lemon was fired, like, they have moved more to the right. I've seen them have these ignorant surrogates for Trump on there. Just lie. Just lie through their teeth. Like, Trump would say something and they would say, oh, that's not what he said. This is why, like, when it comes to things like this, I'm not interested in sitting down with folks with different viewpoints. This what separates Anderson Cooper, a rich white man who comes from money, like he's a Vanderbilt, he comes from money, versus a black man like Charlamagne. Charlamagne has money, but Anderson Cooper has money, influence, and power. Point blank, period. So Anderson Cooper's understanding of, like, these things, like, oh, you know, different viewpoints, it's not life or death for a white man. It is for somebody like Charlamagne, and even Charlamagne gets it a little bit. He has to get it. He has to get it. So it's just, y'all are okay with this man coming in saying these things. Trump has said several things out loud. Like, said several things that are just chaotic. This is the man who has generals calling him out and saying that, girl, the way you look at this stuff, the way you move, I can't even do. Like, okay, I'm fine with, like, planning drone attacks and blowing folks up in different countries and stuff, but at least I ain't doing it by the White House unless it gets bad. Because let's be honest, and I don't know, a lot of folks want to believe that we already live in a fascist state already. I don't know, shocking news. The uprisings of 2020, 2021 should have told you that. Like, did you see how the National Guard was mobilized to push protesters and stuff who were protesting what? Police brutality. Like, police brutality. That's what they were protesting. And they activated the National Guard. So it's just like, it's already here. It's already here. Like, but CNN is just see no evil. They have become accustomed to it. And that's one of the issues that I'm having with this election when it comes to Harris critiquing Trump, because she's saying all of these things and he's danger. But she is the VP. And if Trump wins, she gonna have to shake his hand and his VP's hand too. Because that's the quote unquote system. That's hard for me. Like, we have to respect the power. So we're saying that a group of people who have trash ideologies are able to put a person in a position of power to continue to do these things. This is what we call democracy. It's just, we can't all admit that this stuff is wrong. Like, that's where it comes to me. It's just like, we don't have a understanding of what is wrong. And I wonder, why is that? Who conditioned us and socialized us to believe what is right and what is wrong? Because there is no way that you're seeing a Democrat say it the way that Donald Trump is. They're not going to say it. They will say it. They have to be more calculating in how they say it. Same thing with Harris, still supporting Netanyahu. She's not going to shake his hand per se and do certain things, but she is still going to say messaging like Israel has a right to defend itself. Because that's the messaging that is soft, like, hey, If they got to blow children up or whatever, like I'm okay with that. Like that's the messaging. So it's just politicians lie. Like they have to tell us a truth in a way that's digestible for us. Even watching the debate with Walz and JD Vance, people were saying, well, Vance is lying. He's lying. He's just, yes, they lie. This is what shocking news they do. But Vance was able to get on that stage and look like he knew what he was doing, because at the end of the day, the presidential election and all that other stuff is heavily on image, which is why VP Harris has to do even more to give that, because she is a black woman. Come on now, let's stop pretending. You're not going to see any like women in higher positions of power currently right now dressed in certain clothes. Like, come on, let's stop with the mess. Like, stop with the mess. Even going back and watching House of Cards right now, and how when Clara became president and stuff, and how she dresses, just wow. Like, you don't see that. It's not going to happen, because the image is of a white older man. And Vance was able to do that. He was lying through his teeth, but he was touching and doing all that stuff. Going back to what Bill Clinton did with the saxophone, appeal to the people. Who would you have a beer with? White folks saying they will vote for George Bush because they can sit down and have a beer with him. The relatability factor is so necessary to win this election. Like, it is so necessary. You don't hear a lot of conversations between both candidates about what they actually can do and what they will do, because that isn't really the conversation that they want to have. Like, it's giving Lois Griffin
9/11.
Like, it's giving that. Like, oh, this guy's bad. She's ignorant, unhinged, all this. They're not saying things that they can do because they know they're not going to do them. They're not going to do them. And I hate to get on the stoop and just talk this, but I just need for us to be honest when y'all ask, like, why folks are not interested in the electoral process and stuff. This is why, because both of them are lying. Both of them are currently lying. Like, that's what's happening. So, yes, Charlamagne touching Anderson Cooper's soul, like, had him messed up. Like, what do you mean? Meaning that y'all allow these folks to get on this network and spill lies and say whatever they want to say. But when it comes to, like, Harris, there is a difference in how y'all critique her and all that other stuff. Like, there is a difference in how y'all have conversation. Y'all have gotten used to Trump saying these things. Look, Trump has said so much stuff, like, it's on another level. Like, he is slurring his words. His speech looked terrible. Like, he was standing looking around for 40 minutes confused. There's no way that a Democrat will get on stage and say that America is a garbage country. Like, they're not going to say that. They can't say it. They won't say it in that type of way. They're not allowed to. The moment any Democrat is even remotely critical of the U.S. military in any type of capacity, they will shut it completely down. They have to appeal to their base, which means they have to tap dance a little bit to make it seem. And to be honest, Republicans don't care about veterans like that, girl. As a veteran, sadly, as someone who is a veteran of the Army, like, girl, I've been to the VA facilities. They're terrible. The buses are dirty. Like, the VA facilities look terrible. Like, they look horrible. They're outdated. Like, folks have to, like, you have 70-year-old veterans struggling to get access that they have, quote unquote, put their lives on the line to be able to get. Like, it's just, all this stuff is a joke. Like, all this stuff is a joke. But going back to what I'm saying, like, it was a surreal moment for Anderson Cooper to realize, like, yeah, girl, like, the stuff that y'all be doing with Trump, y'all don't do that. Like, y'all gotten used to Trump saying all these things. Y'all got used to it. Like, y'all just allow that. And then y'all will critique Harris on some small stuff. And it's like the people who have legit criticisms about both parties are not able to even get in because y'all still stuck on bull crap. I don't care if Harris is like, I don't care about her blackness like that. Not really interested, remotely interested in her blackness. They do talk about it, and make no mistake about it, like, Harris does have to duck and dodge a little bit of her blackness because that's what it is. Like, you have to shelve that. We've seen Obama do it. Obama had to what? Reverend Charlamagne Rye, like, when he was out here, God damn America, like, baby, he had to distance himself from that black man. He had to distance himself. Like, he had to, because it's like, the white folks not gonna stand by it. So if We are always catering to the specific demographic and making sure they're coddled and everything's okay with them. What are we saying? If we always have to cater towards them, are we really ever winning? If we always have to come back to their side, when have the Republicans ever compromised on anything? They have the Democrats on a leash. The Democrats can't even have a conversation about the unaliving penalty. They can't even have a conversation about that. We just lost a black man not too long ago who people were arguing was not guilty, was not guilty of any of these crimes, and the state still unalived him. Like, you heard no legitimate Democrats in positions of power talk about that. They did not discuss it. They can't discuss it. You have Harris having to say something about Trump standing next to the border wall that Obama built. You have Harris also saying that Trump's administration was also helping trans folks get access to care. It's just, remember what I said, that they both find ways to say the same things? So when we talk about oh, they're not the same, you need to be able to see what it is first, because you will believe that it's something that is not. You don't know until you knew. You don't know until you knew. Because if you don't see it, you don't know that it's happening. And when you're given a new way of thinking and challenging things, you're able to see, you know what, they are saying the same. I'm telling y'all from the bottom of my heart, as she beats right now and beating fast, the way I have changed my thinking over the last couple of years, I'm able to see it, and I sometimes regret it. Like, I am paying attention. I'll give you an example. I had a mutual by the name of Jatella. Y'all have seen him on my videos and podcasts and stuff before, was critiquing bell hooks and abuse in love. And I know I'm jumping the gun right now, but he was being critical of love and abuse coexisting. And I'm looking at, I was having a conversation with my close friend Harold about it. And I was telling him, I am watching this conversation, and immediately I'm like, girl, what is he talking about? But I came in, was like, you know what? Let me see what he's saying, because this is a theory I'm interested. When I'm coming in with an open mind and ready to receive, I'm ready and willing to learn more. When we come in and ready to listen to understand versus listening to respond, shout out to Aisha K. Faines, period. May she rest in peace. I come in with that, listening to understand, and then getting a grasp of, you know what? Let me then take that. But if we're always listening to respond to certain things, we're not gonna get anywhere. Now, there are certain stuff, I'm not arguing about the life of somebody. I'm not arguing about rights and stuff, about certain things. There's some stuff I'm just not listening to. The conversations that CNN is having sometimes are not beneficial. Like, you're having someone who's not even trying to understand anything that you're saying. There has to be a little bit of compromise between both folks. They're not willing to compromise anything. They're saying what they're saying, and they believe what they believe. They don't even want to believe the truth. So why are we allowing them to come? You're giving them a platform. You're giving them a platform to continue to spew this stuff. And they would use sound bites and stuff to say, well, girl, I was on there. I'm not, they're able to use y'all to further their agenda. Shout out to Charlamagne. What they say about a broken clock, sometimes it needs a battery if it's beeping. I think that's a smoke detector, but you get what I'm saying. But yes, Charlamagne did chew this. But at what cost? At what cost when Charlamagne The God is sitting on a platform that is infamous for being anti-black and transphobic and sexist all the time? What does that mean? The same way that Anderson Cooper looked at Charlamagne, women have sat next to Charlamagne and looked at him crazy when he has said some ignorant things. You know, it's interesting to watch Charlamagne look at Anderson Cooper and challenge him. And it's just like, Charlamagne, when you get challenged like that, I want you to remember that moment when you sat next to Anderson Cooper, because the same way he was in a position of power is the same way you look at folks who you don't care about. Let's talk about it.